One of the biggest lies in the EV world is that they are zero emissions vehicles. Whilst they may not produce any tailpipe emissions, they are anything but zero emissions. The chances are they were charged with electricity generated by fossil fuels, which just shifts the emissions from the car back up the transmission lines to the power station. Not only that, the materials in a single lithium-ion battery can require up to 200 tonnes of earth and spoil to be moved and refined, all of which will be powered by fossil fuels, adding to the lifetime emissions of the car. I wonder if they have even included the emissions from recycling the battery at the end, which would add even more. But now, in another blow to the UK's insane policy of no new internal combustion engine cars by 2035, the Advertising Standards Authority has called out this lie in a devastating ruling. EVs are not zero emissions. Welcome back to MGUY, British engineer and lawyer turned Sydney YouTuber. Please be sure to like, share and subscribe, hit the notification bell and drop a comment down below. In a classic case of greenwashing, where organisations profess their green virtue while hiding dirty little secrets in the background, car advertisers have long spruiked their EVs as zero emissions. But in this damning ruling, the Advertising Standards Authority has banned adverts by BMW and MG. Electric cars are not zero emissions, says advertising watchdog. Car makers ordered to take account of CO2 used in manufacturing and charging. Electric cars cannot be advertised as completely zero emission because of the carbon dioxide that is generated when they are made and charged, the advertising watchdog has declared. In a ruling that will change how electric vehicles, EVs, are promoted, the Advertising Standards Authority has banned car makers from referring to them as zero emission unless they make clear this is only while driving. The decision emerged as the regulator criticised BMW for describing its range of EVs as zero-emission cars in Google searches. In the ruling, the ASA said, "We understood that when electric vehicles were driven, no emissions were produced, unlike a car with a petrol or diesel engine, where emissions came from the tailpipe. However, in other circumstances, such as the manufacture or charging of an electric vehicle using electricity from the national grid, emissions were generated. For that reason, an ad that featured a zero emissions claim that did not make explicitly clear that it was related to the reaction of the vehicle while it was being driven was likely to mislead." This is yet another massive blow to the UK's insane EV mandate and goes against the UK government's current labelling of EVs as zero-emission vehicles. It's a result of a disastrous cart-leading-the-horse policy in which the specific technology of EVs is mandated by bureaucrats disconnected from reality, rather than the desired outcome, and in a time frame which is hopelessly unachievable. As a consequence, car manufacturers have been forced to prepare for a world in which EVs rule, by building EV models and promising to phase out internal combustion engines. Unfortunately, however, it's also a world in which customers just don't want them. So the rhetoric is ratcheted up further, desperately trying to convince a highly sceptical public that they should be buying EVs. And this kind of greenwashing is the inevitable outcome. Now the claims have come up against the advertising regulator and have been stopped in their tracks. Let's hope that in due course the wholesale rollout of EVs suffers the same fate.